Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm just so excited to celebrate with you today, my friend Nicole Garceau and fellow Canadian Nicole Garceau. Now, I got to tell you, just before we started recording, I was just telling Nicole that she's such a badass. Like, she is a professional athlete. She is somebody who also brings such rigorous curiosity and ethic to astrology, and just in so many different ways. She's just a shining star, I'll tell you. I love that she's coming back to Synchronicity University. This time she's coming with the September 2022 speaker series, which is really very exciting. And one class with Nicole, I tell you, you come away a better astrologer. She is such an amazing teacher that you learn something really practical that you can apply right away and know your chart differently. And this class will be no different. You're about to see why Nicole is my friend, is a badass, is an amazing astrologer. I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, my friend Nicole Garceau. Nicole, thank you for being here.
Well, as usual, thank you for having me. It's such a great honor to be teaching for your school yet again. And yeah, just like in my athletic career, I strive for perfection and for accuracy, for, all the words you said. You just describe it. Just transpose that from my athlete career into my astrology career, and there you have it. So
yeah, it's been just amazing to watch you shine and grow, because I know, and I remember you started out as a student and you were taking classes at Synchronicity University.
absolutely.
And I just saw so much skill. Like, I remember, yeah, you were sharing in the chat and you brought your own perspective. And I remember saying to you, like, hey, I think you're ready. You should make a video for my channel and all of that. And you have
and here's me on my end.
And look at you.
Are you sure, Nadiya?
I was like, yes. Look, Nicole, you proved me right. I tell you, you proved me right, because you just take what you know and take the opportunity and you run with it, and you rose to the challenge and you excelled. You excelled in the challenge. And then I was like, come teach at my school. Now I'm like, come teach again. Nicole, what I love about how you teach and how you present astrology is that you can get really practical. Like, you have a curiosity for the exact techniques. And so
yes,
what is it that has awakened this curiosity within you, and especially your interest in this particular degree theory that you're going to be teaching?
well, it goes back to the reason why I'm so passionate about astrology, and the reason for that, and the reason why I excelled in certain sports versus others. Like, I always had that natural gift, to be an athlete. But the reason why, I was such a good grappler, for example, is because the amazement of the power of jiu-jitsu, it constantly wowed me. And that's what kept me in that. And the same for astrology, is that it's the curiosity and the constant quest and discovery. And so I went to, in the beginning of my journey, there was a point in time when I said, there's got to be a meaning behind these degrees. There's a reason why there's a certain placement of certain things. And I would read, different degree theories that would go on. And, I know a lot of people are a fan of Sabian symbols. I personally am not at all. It's just when there's too much nuances and room for interpretation, I kind of, just like steer back from that. And then, so I just happened to fall upon Nikola Stojanovic's degree theory. And unfortunately, he's passed now, but I had the opportunity to share some feedback, and we did collaborate a little bit on some certain fine tuning of interpretations based on what I was seeing within my clients' charts. And I found this absolutely fascinating, that it adds that other layer of interpretation within the zodiac, within the birth chart. Like for example, like, somebody would, look at a birth chart and, like my best friend's husband, he has Mercury 22 degrees in the 8th house Capricorn. Pardon me. And you look online on the internet, and you got to be cautious when you do that, obviously. So then you would get this fear-based thing with the 22 degrees, where it's killed or be killed, and that's one of the most famous. I'm using that degree in particular because that's the one a lot of people tend to focus on that are aware of this degree theory. And
So sorry. So it's 22 of Capricorn that has
22 of any sign.
Oh, wow. So 22 of any sign has a certain, like, oh, watch out kind of energy to it.
Well, on the internet, you'll read about killed or be killed.
Okay.
It can, sure. But the thing is, what I found is, as the universe would do, would I just happened to come across a lot of charts as I was obsessed and diving into this degree theories and wanting to, look at different things, is that I was handed like a slew of charts that had 22 degrees. Now, I personally have Venus square Neptune in my chart, so I tend to track a lot of psychics. So, and sure enough, you'll see mediums that communicate with spirits that have passed. There's that death symbolism to that degree. So they would have, a certain planet at a 22 degree. So they would communicate with the dead. People, morticians that, that work with dead people would have that 22 degree. Now, going back to my best friend's husband, Mercury, 22 degrees, 8th house, Capricorn. Now, you take away that 22 degrees, you would say that a person would, investigate, what I mean, would probe for secrets in that house, probably for work, because it's colored by Capricorn. But what kind? He's a homicide detective. He investigates death.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
incredible. That is so right on for
yeah,
how that symbol
absolutely.
came together for him. Yeah.
And it's predominant, and like Nikola Stojanovic has made, it's the main theory that he uses and the main system of prediction that he uses, in his practice. And like with USA's chart, predicted Obama coming to presidency. The president of is it prime minister or president in Yugoslav, his assassination and stuff like that, based on that theory.
Wow. And so each degree, there
Hmm.
are like 0 to 29, basically. So
Absolutely,
each degree has its own symbolism to it. And that's
absolutely.
part of what you're going to be going through, helping people to understand each of the degrees, the symbolism there.
Yeah, and certain degrees have that, special significance. For example, like 2 degrees, of any sign we're talking about, would have that, extra, like that best of, type of flavor too, amongst other things that'll go through in the class. And for example, my partner, Brody's father, has Mars 2 degrees in the second house, and obviously Mars rules weapons and knives, and he's got a fascination with knives, but he's got to buy the best of the best. And ironically, we were camping last summer, we were in an RV, and then this gentleman just happened to be right beside us, and the way he was talking, I was like, I bet you this man has Mars 2 degrees in his chart. And I said, do you mind? I couldn't help myself. And I asked him, for his birth date, if he was comfortable with that. And sure enough, he had Mars 2 degrees. And I said, oh, you guys are speaking each other's language. Have at it. So
That's
there's certain
amazing.
qualities. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, off the top of your head, do you know? It's coming up for me to ask 23 because my midheaven is 23 Pisces. I have
Astrologer.
you really, yeah, 23 in
It's
general?
related. Yeah, because it's related to
Because
aside.
Chiron is at 23 Aries in my chart too. So that 23 number is really strong.
Yeah,
Wow, that's the astrologer vibe.
because what happens is that they basically relate to the zodiac. So, for example, like first degree Aries, right up until 12 Pisces, and then it cycles again, right? So then, but what I'm finding is that the second cycle has more, like it's a more mature aspect of that, that significance. So going to the 23, it's Aquarius.
Wow, that's so fascinating because, yeah, I feel like that Chiron at 23 Aries and midheaven at 23 Pisces, it so perfectly describes my work. I mean, I've got a lot of other stuff there too in the 10th house, but I feel like what I do is under that very broad umbrella of being a healer, with that Chiron
Absolutely.
there. But wow, that 23.
But you're very spiritual too. You bring that spiritualness to it. You start your classes with meditations. You know what I mean? You add those, that other flavor to that 23 degree, right?
Mhm. Wow. And so 23 is like the vibe of the astrologer, the vibration.
Or,
That's
somebody
incredible.
that's holistic, hippie, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
would have those certain qualities. And what I found too is that people that, weren't sure about an exact time for their birth, it was about this time. So then, you would, coupled with the class that I taught earlier, the developmental age method with those planetary placements, you can accurately figure out, I'm like, okay, this planet is to be in this house based on that experience during a certain period of life. So then you're not exactly sure about that ascendant. That would help it because your AC, DC would have that flavor to it. Your partner, on the opposite end, that degree, they would carry that flavor of that person. And then, funny enough, I used it in a friend of mine who was dating forever. So then she seemed to have found this one. I said, is he a Sag that is a nurse? Or, or does he travel, or does he, do these things? And he's a Cancer type person and stuff like that. And sure enough, he embodied those qualities. Because I can't remember if it was 4 degrees or 9 degrees, and it was Cancer. But it was, either it was Cancer 9 degrees, her descendant, or it was Sagittarius 4 degrees. It was something like that. But
That's incredible.
yeah, and she's like, yes, he's a nurse. So I'm like, oh, she's found the one, high
Wow.
probability there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really about sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just adding, it was still dating to date. It's been 3 years. Yeah.
It's incredible how each degree holds an archetypal energy. And
Yeah.
so you blend it together with the planet that's there. And it helps bring this whole other layer of interpretation as to how you're going to realize that energy of that planet in that sign in that house.
Absolutely.
And so your astrology has always been like oriented around wanting to know these specific formulas in order to align with prediction, right? And you know what I love about that is that I know that there's this trend in modern astrology that says, well, you can't predict. It is about psychological tendencies and things like that. But I think that there's layers, right? Like, yes, of course, we have choice and there are different ways in which we can realize a given energy. But an important part of our tradition as astrologers is that we have that tradition of prediction. Now, ideally, you want to use it to empower people to understand their free will and make their choices, but understanding that there is something specifically archetypal coming forward here is prediction. It is a powerful way of honoring that one part of our tradition. And I love how you do that, how you recognize that and you own that completely.
Yeah, because the thing is, we are where we're at because of our ancestors. And the thing is too is that they've used it for many reasons. What prediction is one of them, but healing is another. And that's part of my thing is that I aside from the psychological element to it, is that I'm really focused in discovering answers within the chart to soulful healing. And and I'm fascinated with psychology. I'm fascinated, with the show. Of course, as we all say, there's one lifetime is not enough to learn everything there is to know.
I like to say, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to pick and choose, where you put your efforts in. And I'm fascinated with this theory. I love it, and I'm seeing some definite accuracy when it comes to those planetary placements at certain degrees, without question.
So let me take it a bit of a step back. How did you get into astrology? How do you feel like it called you?
That's a great story, actually. And it happened like way back when I was in Ontario. And I was looking for a good tarot because there was this one tarot reader that I had. Like, I kid you not, like this woman was like the Bible. Like, At first, she was just absolutely amazing, but unfortunately, she had passed. And so I was asking my friends about a good tarot reader because my standards were high based on that woman. And I've been through, a few not so good ones. So then she said, there's this one woman, she's really good. She's an astrologer. I'm like, those astrologers are not sure about the astrologers. I was the skeptic. And, but then she says, no, but she pulls cards at the end. And the reason why I went was because she did the tarot element. And let me tell you, I was just in the process of separating from my ex-husband. And she says, either you just separated or you separated. And she's going through my chart, and it blew me away as soon as she started talking about my chart. And then she said I would meet somebody from work. She said I would get pregnant with Brody. And I'm like, there's no way. And I'm like, there's no way. As a Mark can't have kids. And she said the month, July too. And so then, just over the course of a few readings, I was just fascinated. I'm like, wow, there was something here. So that seed was planted. And what triggered it was the eclipses in Leo. So I'm a double Leo. I'm a Leo sun and I'm a Leo ascendant. So from there, it was just like a flash, like I don't know, the champagne bottle that was brewing inside, that was stirring. There's the cork popped off, and I didn't just dip my toe into the waters to test it. I dove in, and I was swimming in an ocean of knowledge ever since. So
I love it.
And you were actually one of the first people I followed. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. You, Stormy, and Lotta were the three. And I had the fortunate privilege of working with the two of you. So within the same year. And I was like, this is a great year.
I love that. Well, look, I love that. Okay, great. You started out as a fan. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And then you became my A+ pupil. And now it's like you're shining in your own right and sharing in your own way. And it's just such a pleasure to see you do your thing. And I celebrate you as my fellow Canadian and my Astro sister. I am just so very proud of you. We love each other.
And you know what? That means so much to hear those words. Okay, well, you're not supposed to get me emotional.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Because the thing is, you just don't realize, when you put a lot of effort within passion, what you can achieve and where things can lead you. And who would have known the first day I clicked on your video, we'd be sitting right here. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
And you just never know, where things can lead you. And, if you adopt a philosophy, like, for in my athletic career, it's like, what you do in sports is not just yourself. It's a team behind you that brings you to a world championship in my case. And that's the same principle I apply in my astrology. I'm always out there, like you were mentioning in the chats, help, if I have some information that helps a person out, of course, we bring each other up, right? And I love that you embody that philosophy. And, it's, your vibe attracts your tribe, as they say.
Yeah. And it's quite incredible to see how, there's such love and enthusiasm. And like you said, that you just don't know where those beginning moments are going to end up taking you, but
Absolutely.
You know when something awakens in your soul.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the thing. Yeah. I mean, I remember going through such a very challenging time and how astrology was there for me, how astrology sort of reminded me of some spark within me, reminded me that this time is temporary. The challenges are temporary, and how much strength that gave me. And I think about those first books that I read, and now to be on the other side of it is quite remarkable to see how that cycle continues, how we continue to lift people up. And sometimes we may never even meet those people, and
Absolutely.
yet we can lift people up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? And you're talking about lifting people up, and it's by sharing, being vulnerable, being that Cancer rising that you are, that likes that shield.
No, right? But you know me so well. Yeah.
But and that's the thing is that, through your openness and your, allowing yourself to be vulnerable on camera, and that's where, my sense of relatedness was so strong, because as you shared your stories, that was like also my story. And we didn't ever realize, the impact that we can have on individuals. And and that's the reason why I take reading a chart so seriously, because this is not just artsy fartsy pseudo stuff. This is serious stuff. You know what I mean? Your people are seeking your counsel, and you've got to take that seriously and realize that the words that come out of your mouth, words have power. That's the reason why it's called spelling. And
oh yes, so
yeah,
powerful, right? And I think about how I think that very deep in our sort of collective unconscious, it was only very recently in human history, like up until the discovery of Uranus, you had to be a priest in order to be an astrologer. It was only the religious people who practiced astrology because it was seen as divining the gods, like being an intermediary to the gods. And I think that somewhere very deep within our collective unconscious, that sense is still there, which is part of why I don't know about you, but even now I can have the experience where I'll go for a reading and inside something within me will say, please say something good, oh, you better do something good like that. It's because of that very part of our very deep unconscious. And that comes with a lot of responsibility for sure.
does.
Like we have a duty to be absolutely ethical in that because the astrologer, even if it's unconscious, even if we deny it, some part of us knows that the astrologer holds that place within us. And yeah, it's something that when we hold reverence for that, we can only be better as astrologers when we do that.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And going back to the degree theory, that's why I'm so passionate about pursuing this theory of degrees and continuing it within my practice, is because I'm just seeing so much accuracy and additional layer of information to be told within the natal chart with this degree theory. So
well, I'm just so excited. And once again, you guys, you get to learn from the incredible Nicole Garceau at the September 2022 Speaker Series. And if you sign up before the end of August, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologers like the wonderful Nicole Garceau. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming back to my school. You're just a shining, shining star. I'm so proud of you. And you are badass in so many ways. I love that about you too.
There you go.
Yeah. And thank you everybody out there for watching. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.
Bye.